My mother always told me that if you do good, you will receive good. My mother was a really strong, independent woman. She never depended on anyone for anything. She was a single mom. She wasn't college educated. She came to this country from the West Indies. We didn't have a lot as a single mom. She worked hard for us. You know, she worked the night shift, and by the morning time when she came home, she cooked us breakfast. We always had breakfast on the table. When I got home from school at 3 p.m., there was always a hot plate of food on the table. I describe my mother as a selfless woman. She's a giver. She gives from her heart, and she gives to everybody. One day, my mother walked into our home, and she just stood there. And she was almost like she was lost. And I looked at her and I said, "Mom, is everything okay?" And she said, "I don't remember being here before." And I was just like, what? I was shocked. I was floored. My mom had spent a year with me caring for my children in that same home. I knew at that point, I gotta get her to a neurologist. I gotta get her to see the doctor. My mother was first diagnosed with mild cognitive impairment. It was not until I took her to the doctor here in Arizona that she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. I mean, I knew that was coming. I knew that she had a form of dementia, but it was really hard for me to accept it. And when the doctor confirmed it and he told me, "Your mother has Alzheimer's disease," it broke my heart and I was devastated. I knew that this disease was gonna take my best friend from me. I knew that this was a life-changing event. And when he told me that, I just cried in the office. I remember that experience with my mom sitting next to me, and I just started crying. My mom looked at me and she said, "You're gonna make me cry." She said, "You have to be strong. You have to trust in God, and you have to be strong and trust His plan." And from that point on, I looked at my mom and I said, "Mom, we're gonna do this journey together. We're in this together. And I'm never gonna leave your side. I'm never gonna leave your side. We're gonna fight this together." And from that point on, my journey began to care for my mom. When my mom first came to stay with me, I spent a lot of time arguing with her and fighting with her to try to get her to remember. It's tough. It's hard coping with your loved one who suffers from Alzheimer's disease because we want them to be that person we knew them to be. Seeing my mother in this new state was extremely difficult for me. She went from being an extremely organized woman who filed every single bill in a folder to not being able to go through her mail. And this was a struggle for me. This disease morphed my mom into someone else. This was not the woman I knew. And it was difficult to accept. I always would try to remind my mom of who she was. I would tell her, "Mom, remember, you don't remember this, and you don't remember," and I would try to get her to remember. I cried daily because I spent so much time arguing with my mom and trying to get her to remember. You can't get someone to remember things that they don't remember. Their short-term memory, it's gone. And I had to come to that point of acceptance to understand this new mother. And it was hard and it was difficult, and it really was frustrating for me. There was a lot of contention in my home between my mother and me. There was a time where my mom would cook in the kitchen for us. And one day she cooked and she left the stove on and left the pot and went back in her room and laid in her bed. And I was so upset with her. I walked into her room and I'm like, Mom, what are you doing? You're gonna burn the house down. And she just became really frustrated and sad and was just like, I'm going home. And I would get so upset with her because she didn't remember certain things. I didn't accept that she had Alzheimer's disease. She was frustrated, she was sad. She wanted to go back home and she would say, I'm going back home. I had an epiphany one day and it just hit me. I was at a really low point in my life and I was frustrated and I was getting upset all the time with my mom, and she was getting upset with me, and she would stay in her room and I would stay in my room. And I thought to myself, this isn't good for me, nor is this good for my mom. Me trying to get her to realize that something is wrong is pointless and purposeless. From that point on, I said, you know what? I'm gonna live in the moment with her. We're gonna celebrate each day and we're gonna have the best days. I wanted to make a change. I wanted to be better for my mother. And I started doing a lot of research. I spent a lot of time researching online. I read a ton of books. I took a training class. I did all of this to be better for my mom. I began to create a culture in my home that was accepting of my mother. It was a lot of growth. I had to grow as a person. I had to grow as an individual into this new me and into accepting my mother for the woman she is now and for the woman she became. My mom came to me one day and said to me that her caregiver put her food in her purse. Well, I know that's not true, but it's her reality. So I just sat with her and I just gossiped with her like we would have in the past. I said, she did? She put that in her purse? Mom, she must have been hungry. And my mom just laughed. We just sat there and we just laughed together. It's a total different approach now, and we just gossiped about it. And my mom loved that, and I live my life living in her reality and in her truth. And now we can celebrate moments of joy. Having gone through this experience and learning so much caring for my mother, I know that I could bring my knowledge as a family and psychiatric nurse practitioner together with my experience to truly help people get through that struggle of caring for their loved one. Experience is the best teacher. You never truly understand what someone else is going through until you have to live that life and walk a mile in their shoes. And I've lived that life. And I want to help others that are going through the same experience. I started Hearts for Dementia Home Care to give people a peace of mind. There were moments where I felt really alone in this process, and I wanted to start a business that would help people to understand that they're not alone in this, that we're in this together and we can do this together to provide that good quality care that everyone's loved one deserves. I know that through this agency, my mother's legacy, it will live on. I know that my mother would want this agency to embody her love, her care, her compassion, and generosity for others. she would want to give to the world and make sure that people were receiving the quality care that they need. I'm gonna make sure that there is a sense of community, that people feel that they have a place that they belong to and that they're not alone in this. We are in this together, and I'm gonna do everything to support you in every way that I can to make sure your loved one gets the care and the love that they deserve.